Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports Recruiting. We've got a great show for you guys in store today. We're going to be discussing Ryan Williams, what it means for him committing to Alabama when he did, then the most top three impactful recruiting class. Obviously, we have how the recruiting class is finished, but how much of an impact are they going to make this upcoming season? And then head into LSU. They're on an absolute burner for 2025, and we got to see how are they going to bode now that Alabama and Nick Saban have taken a step back. Well, more so just Alabama. Again, top three recruits thus far for 2025. Before we do any of that, let's go ahead and introduce the co-host for the evening, Mr. Cody, the professor, the recruiting expert, Bush Light Handy. Cody, how are we doing, sir?
Uh, Another day in paradise, bud. Can't wait to get into this episode, this class, the first live for true live, not commitment party for high top sports recruiting.
It is indeed, and it's the first show that we're going to look to have, continuing to have. So if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions, we're all ears. So we're going to talk all things recruiting for the most part, unless there is some massive news. Obviously, we had Jim Harbaugh uh, move on yesterday. Looks like Sharon Moore has been announced as the head coach for Michigan. So I don't expect there to be much turnover at Michigan, but it will be something that we definitely keep an eye on. But first order of business, Cody, we got to talk about Ryan Williams, wide receiver who just recently committed to Alabama after decommitting and felt like he was going to be leaving. Talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. So Ryan Williams was a must keep for Alabama. He is a five-star wide receiver, fifth nationally among all players out of that 2024 class. And the reason why they had to keep him, and a lot of people are going to say, look, it's just Bama and another five-star wide receiver. But this is not the Bama of old. This is a new regime. This is a new school almost. Yeah, you're gonna have some leftovers of the old regime, but this was a big get for the new head coach to keep a guy that his dad played at Auburn. Auburn was hard on him. They wanted the freeze five to happen really bad. They've been recruiting him relentlessly. They couldn't get it done at the last second, and that he chose to go ahead and stay at Alabama.
And they had to bring in all the stops. They had to bring in Willie to at
Yep.
Alabama to seal the deal. And look, he hasn't signed yet, but he's expected to sign in February. But it has announced that he would not be visiting elsewhere, i.e., Auburn or Texas, who was making a run. So technically, they could still make a last minute splash if they really wanted to. He's still open for the taking, but we've only got about a week or so left, I believe, until that what once was the initial signing day has now just become a second thought due to early signing day and kids being enrolled as soon as possible so they can get in and start practicing for that spring ball, which kids are already there doing training. So, look, Ryan Williams going to Alabama. We may have overlooked it given the fact that he is a five-star wide receiver. Alabama landing five-star recruits is nothing of the new. But with how things have been heading and DeBoer being able to come in and, like you said, pluck him from a legacy at Auburn, and Texas has been throwing cash at anybody and everybody to get who they want. They basically were, nobody was telling them no. Huge pickup for DeBoer. And again, a lot of question marks on whether or not DeBoer would be able to recruit at Alabama. Shows that, hey, I can come in and get it done on the first big challenge. I know if you guys they lost out on, this is a big get, and kudos to them for landing it. Now, next on the board here, we decided to make our own recruiting list here. Our top three most impactful recruiting classes of 2024, i.e., what class is going to come in and see the football field and have an impact, whether it's good or bad, but have a chance to and have an opportunity to affect the team that is on the football field. Obviously, Georgia had the number one recruiting class, but the chances a lot of that class sees the field early on is very slim. Same thing with Texas for how aggressive they were in the portal. Miami was up there, but they've got a lot of three stars. Those guys won't see the football field either. So, I'm not going to give away all of our answers. Let's go ahead into number three, the number three class that Cody, the recruit and the professor, decided to go with, and who that is, Cody.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go with Florida, the saviors of the swamp. And you guys, they've they've picked up the recruiting on where they need to pick up, right? You get the number one rated quarterback in the nation, DJ Lagway. When's the last time a number one quarterback in the nation went to Florida? I can't remember, right? Um, this guy is electric. He's got an NFL caliber arm. He can do things with his feet. But what I like is right here. He's going to scramble, roll off platform. Patty Mahomes has made a living off doing that. Brett Favre, way before him, made a living off doing that. Out of Texas, playing decent competition there, and I'm telling you, this kid is something else. Next up, we have LJ McCray, right? And the thing I love about LJ is Florida has gotten a couple of D linemen or edge guys in the past, but they haven't been able to put it all together. There's always like one guy, right? Um, well, with Florida has been supplementing in the transfer portal on the defensive line. They've developed some guys. LJ's going to come in, and with his weight and frame, I mean, he's going to play right away. He's got an extremely high motor. Football IQ is through the roof, stays in his gap. He's not just running in to get into the backfield. Um, a lot of that flashes in high school. I don't like that. Britton Cox is a guy that lived in the backfield and never made plays. You know, the running back would cut it back and he would be gone. But LJ is a super smart football player in a position of need. Florida has gone out and gotten positions of need to where they have not recruited very, very well lately in the past. Also, linebackers. Florida has not recruited linebackers well, minus a couple guys here and there, a developmental guy and Miller that went to the NFL. And you go out and you get two top tier, number 6 and number 9, 4-star linebackers, and Miles Graham, a legacy kid, a kid you had to get. He is a middle linebacker. He is a thumper. He's gonna blow up the run play. I can't wait to see what happens with him, what they're gonna do with him. But we haven't had a middle linebacker like this for a very, very long time. Ventrell Miller, but he's way better than Ventrell. Then you have Aaron Childs. I don't remember the last running or linebacker that we've had like this. I mean, this guy is a prototypical Georgia kid, a guy that has speed for days. I comped him to Eric Kendricks on his coverage skills. He can cover a tight end. He can cover a slot guy. He has the speed to go sideline to sideline. He's 6'3", 220. I'd like to see him about 235, 240 to play in the SEC. A thumper, and his tackling is so sure. Another problem that Florida has kind of run into of not sure tackling, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, obviously us being Gators, we talked about this, but those four players there, three of the four, and I'm leaving out DJ Lagway given the fact that Graham Mertz, but we expect DJ to definitely get some time here. But the other three, LJ, Miles, and Aaron Childs, we expect to be on the football field immediately. LJ is one of those players, again, a top 10 player, a top 5 player, actually, that again, is somebody who can come in right away and make a difference. Somebody that you and I love and adore is Harold Perkins at LSU. 5-star
Yep.
linebacker. He was a top 10 recruit when he came out and was an absolute dog his freshman year. And it's somebody that we look at going, man, we had an opportunity. We were there at the last bit. And that's who I look at LJ as somebody who's going to make an impact right away. Do I believe Miles and Aaron will be what a Harold Perkins was off the rip? I don't know, because that was something special that freshman year. But can they get to that fairly quickly, maybe towards the back half? Absolutely. And it's going to be something that we definitely keep an eye on and watch through the season next year. So I'm excited about that. Next up, number 2, the freeze.
The freeze 4, man. He goes out and Auburn couldn't score to save their life. I mean, the offense was anemic, like almost like Iowa. No, I can't say that bad, but pretty close. Hugh Freeze says, let's go ahead and let's get a couple wide receivers. Why not 4 at them? So you go and get Cam Coleman, 5-star, number 2 wide receiver in the nation, only behind Jeremiah Smith. This guy is a outside guy right here. He run a go route and let him get the ball. I mean, he has the speed, he has the size, good hands, and it's one of those guys where beautiful move there. And then you can just see him blast off. And the talent that came out of Alabama in the wide receiver room this year, the state of Alabama, is absolutely incredible. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to look at another guy, a guy that I really, really like, and that is the big frame, big possession guy, Perry Thomas. Now, this guy is 6'3", 205. He's a big possession guy. The guy's strong. uses his frame to box out, kind of like in basketball. He does have an NFL size and makeup already as 18 years old. He is a 4-star, number 8 wide receiver, and a guy I really, really like. You put him in a red zone area or just to go up and get it 50-50 ball, he's going to come down with it 9 out of 10 times. Then you have my favorite guy out of this class, out of the 2024 class, Bryce Kane. I mean, my goodness. I haven't seen a guy like this since Kadarius Toney. He has the hip movement is unreal. He has that burst and that speed. You put him in the slant or put him in the slot position, let him run slants, um, and little crossers. And boy, you are going to absolutely burn SEC defenses. And then you have a track star and Malcolm Simmons. Malcolm Simmons is a long jumper. He is a state champion long jumper in Georgia. Georgia's track is up there with Florida when it comes to track athletes. And this guy is just another slot guy. So you got two outside guys and you got two inside guys. Run it 4 wide and let them eat.
We took a look at the potential for wide receivers last night. We have a list that dropped on the High Top Sports recruiting page or High Top Sports page, and we had that tenth spot. That tenth spot, we slid in the freeze four. One of these guys we expect to pop off. Now we've got a comment here. One from Ricky says, "Let's go Friday night stream." Absolutely. And Purple Orca says, "I wonder how long they will give Hugh Freeze if they don't improve this year. We might not even see these guys at Auburn." And look, this is where I was hesitant. I have been hesitant about Auburn and their production. They went all in on 4 wide receivers, and I'm like, I don't see why. Yeah, you don't got a guy throwing the football to him. How Florida couldn't land a few more with the likes of DJ Lagler coming in, and what Graham Mertz was able to do with Ricky Pearsall, and Eugene Wilson. Again, it wasn't explosive. I'm not saying it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if we're choosing Auburn, I didn't see anything that I'm writing home about either. So it is very interesting. They've got a lot riding here, as every SEC coach has every single year. So it's look, you're 100% right. Purple will be interesting to see what happens. Says Hugh needs a Bama win this year. Yeah, that he does. If there's a time to strike, it's going to be now. Same thing with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. They better get Bama while they're down. Good stuff. Look, I think that's a very close too, because of how I would say stagnant that offense was. These guys can come in and make an impact right away. It's a very heavy offense, but they've got some great guys on defense too, and Jamonte Waller and Amara. No, they get Morris Williams. Yeah, Jamonte Waller and Morris Williams. Those two defensive line guys are somebody that can make an impact right away, like an LJ McCray, that we were just mentioned. Morris Williams would be somebody special. Florida commit that obviously flipped to Auburn. So with a combination of those two guys, I believe that can make an impact for that Auburn team very quickly. Next up, we've got the team that you have been salivating about. Now, I think this team is going to take a massive step back, given the reason why this recruiting class will have such a big impact because of the lackluster of the team that is coming into the SEC this year. That is Oklahoma.
Yeah, the power line. You know, Brent Venables is a defensive coach, defensive mind coach, and he goes out and he gets not one, not two, not three, but 5 defensive linemen. And these guys are something else. And not only just a couple good ones, but 4 of them could start right away. I'm going to say this. Jaden Jackson is criminally underrated. He's out of IMG. He played right next to Stoney, and this guy is a prototypical 1990s Minnesota Viking, Pat Williams, early 2000s, or Big Gilbert from the Packers in the 90s. I mean, he's just got that old school that nose guard frame. And man, you talk about the push up the middle. Everybody's been saying how good Aaron Donald is in the NFL. Well, that's because he gets that push up the middle. Jaden Jackson does the same exact thing. I mean, the guy is a game wrecker. He can clog up a hole. He gets the running back in the backfield 9 out of 10 times, and then you put his brother right there, David Stone, to rip off the edge. My goodness, it is going to be unreal what they are going to put together. Now they got Danny Okunlola. The only question I have about him is he played in a homeschool league, so you don't know how great the competition was. Probably wasn't very good. But he does have that size, that frame, that length, that everybody wants. 6'4", long arms, kind of like a Daniil Hunter for LSU. Just that long, lanky frame. He has a good motor. I just need to see him read plays. He does get caught up in the backfield, and running backs cut it back a time or two. Then you have Nigel Smith. Nigel Smith playing in Texas, elite hand fighter. He is actually going to the same trainer that Aaron Donald goes to when it comes to defensive linemen. And this guy's going to flash. He's going to flash a lot. He's got a high motor. He's going to have to put on some weight. He's going to have to get up to 270, 280. But with that big frame, 6'5", it's not going to be a problem. I actually think Nigel is probably going to be the sack leader of the bunch when it comes to those guys. And then you got Wyatt Gilmore out of Minnesota. He's a lunch pail type of kid, high motor. He gets um they'll throw a screenplay and he's 10 yards back behind the field and he'll go up and make the tackle. He never gives up. I really like this kid. He needs to polish up on his pass rushing moves a little bit. But that's it. But the power line is something that's going to be absolutely incredible for Oklahoma. The defense struggled this year, and the best way to help out your DBs is a good defensive line, and they have a good one.
And we got Purple Orca showed us colors here saying Boomer Sooner. They sleep on us, but once those dudes get a year or two, they're going to be good. Stone and Jackson together been a long time for us Sooner fans since we had an elite defensive line. David Stone, we're familiar with him, obviously being an IMG kid that is somewhere close to myself here in St. Augustine, Florida. And so we're familiar with those guys. And obviously he was a big target for Florida at one time, but ultimately went to Oklahoma. So again, I'd say they are going to take a step back, but they did a phenomenal job in recruiting this year. I think Brent Venables is an absolute dog. Offensively, though, with losing their offensive coordinator and Dylan Gabriel, I have some questions. I have some concerns, but they're going into a new conference where defense is king, in my opinion. So they're going the right direction with where they're headed thus far, where Texas seems to be still playing that Big 12 mindset, getting a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, but they made some moves on defense as well. I didn't mean to upset our Oklahoma fans in here, but by mentioning the evil stepbrother, but that's where we are at that. Next up, LSU. Brian Kelly is out here cooking, boys and girls, by landing not one, steal one from here, Cody. Not one, not two, but three number one recruits in their respective positions. The number one quarterback in Bryce Underwood, the number one running back,
Yep.
and the number one wide receiver, all going to one place. Now, it's an easy pitch. You just got the Heisman winner. You got a high explosive offense. It makes a ton of sense. It's going to be interesting to see if they obviously can hang on to this class, but this is one hell of a start. It reminds me of Texas 2 years ago. They had Arch Manning. They went and got Cedric Baxter. And I want to say they had, I think, a top 3 wide receiver commit during that class as well. And obviously, we've seen how that has projected them heading into these next couple of years. So we will see here, Cody. What do we got for this LSU team that he's putting together in Brian Kelly?
Yeah, man, he's got some good ones. All right, first of all, let's just go ahead and break down Bryce Underwood. He is a 5-star, number one in the nation, number one quarterback, number one in the class, 6'4", 205 out of Michigan. Now, Michigan recruited him hard, but I don't think Bryce wants to go play for an offense like that. Unfortunately, I think he wants to go play for a high-powered offense that has known pass catchers every single year from Louisiana. The wide receiving core from that Louisiana puts out is unreal. Every year they have no name kids, and they're going to the league. So I think he wanted to play for that type of offense. So you go and get the number one quarterback, and he was one of the earlier guys, right? And then you go out and you get another 5-star, number one wide receiver, fourth in the nation, 5'11", 175 out of Texas, and Mr. Moore there. Then you go out and you get the number two running back out of the class in Harlem Berry, Louisiana kid. Then you go out and you get another offensive weapon, a tight end, which is number 15 in the class. I'm telling you. And then they get a nice athlete in Keelan Moses, a great kid out of Louisiana. They're recruiting well at home, like we always thought they would. But I'm telling you, when you look at the position groups, they got 5 guys, and the lowest guy is ranked 15th. I mean, it's incredible.
For tight end, nationally, he's ranked 332nd.
Yep,
And Keelan Moses. But yeah, I mean, that's the tight end again, 6'6, 220. That's an absolute beast there at tight end. And I know I said number one running back. You got to understand the guys, these rankings change quite often. But I know at one point, Auburn Barry was the number one running back. If there is a room that shuffles around the entire year, it is that running back room. I swear to goodness, we had 16 different number one running backs last year. It just
yep.
depends on what day it is. Jarrett Gibson was the number one at one time. Nate Frazier was number one at one time. I know the Oklahoma kid that committed was number one at one time. I don't remember. I don't know who ended up being number one for 2024 because of how much it switched around. But all in all, some top tier talent. And again, like you said, that 6'6", 330 tight end. Tight ends, they kind of they skyrocket late. So although we're looking at him as a 3-star now, 330 nationally, speaking from experience, Amir Jackson, Florida commit, was nowhere near anything in January. Wasn't even on the map. Ended up finishing a 4-star target for a tight end. I think top 150 nationally for a player. So 6'6", 220. I expect that young man to climb by the end of the season, making this class shape up to be very nicely. And again, with Nick Saban gone, the SEC has again the powers that be have leveled out, right? Especially with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, you're going to have this thing going spread and thin here. And I think these Georgias and Bamas, them stacking classes like they have been, it's gonna thin out for sure. And with the portal, man, I mean, how much can you really stack? Because they're gonna be gone the following year anyways. But all in all, good stuff, Cody. Great insight on LSU. Great takeaways from the top 3 most impactful classes. And then again, huge shout out to Bama for landing Ryan Williams.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, boys and girls, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the way to 2,000 subs. We hope you guys enjoyed this Friday night episode of High Top Sports Recruiting. If you guys like this kind of content, obviously let us know in the comments below. If you want to see something else on these Friday night shows, I think we're going to leave them kind of wide open in a sense of what can we talk about? Talk about, again, I think all things across the college football stratosphere with high school recruiting. 2025, we're in this weird limbo stage. We're leaving 2024. We're heading into 2025. I think we're headed up to a dead period too, where kids can visit and coaches can speak to them. So we're probably going to have a nice little radio silence until we hit that April, May, June, where things really ramp up. And that's where we'll be able to talk more about how these classes are growing and get more information for these kids heading into the summer. They're going to be going to camps, etc. We'll get some more clips. We'll have more information to talk about them. But until then, till next time, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Cody the Professor.
See you boys later.